I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Norwalk Pension Board. It is 4:13. And in attendance, we have Jim Hendrickson,
Charles Pirro,
Rich Baskin.
Jared Schmidt.
and Eric Schmidt and Britt Murdoch from Pelham. So I think we'll start with the review of the pension application. I believe we only have one. Well, let's review the minutes first, sorry. Any comments on the minutes from the October 8 meetings?
yeah, I have one. It says Charles Pirro was absent. At that time, I was not a member of the board.
Okay,
So me and the other 60,000 non-members from Norwalk were not in attendance.
okay,
So we deleted that sentence.
And I was technically not a member either.
yeah,
So
but there were no matters voted on anyway, right? So, yeah, okay.
I
Noted.
am now.
Delete both of us.
So with that, any other comments with that correction? Any other comments? Motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to the pension application, I believe we have just one, is that right?
I have the same problem.
Darren, are you able to get on?
Oh,
Hi there.
Hi, Sharon. I'm sorry about the last minute changes. We had the chair's late getting here, so we decided to get some other stuff done. Get some other stuff done first. So Sharon is the new HR director, taking Tina's place.
welcome.
Thank you.
From Apley. And this is Sharon, this is the pension board.
So we just have one application, but I think Charlie has a comment before we get started.
Well, last time I was a member of the board, I'd raised the question of whether the food services fund was a separate fund with a separate board, a separate legal notice and a separate legal agenda. And I had asked for an opinion from the corporate counsel.
So
I've never
Charlie.
seen one.
what we're gonna do, and I talked to Frank about this a couple of months ago. And we were gonna talk about this when we get to the schedule, because there's a calendar for next year on the schedule.
Mhm.
I think we're gonna have a conversation, rather than vote on that calendar, have a conversation about that, because rather than having to set up a bunch of special meetings for the rest of the year for this month and next month, we're gonna continue the way we've been doing it. There's nothing inappropriate about it.
Well, wait a minute,
They're
wait,
valid.
wait, wait,
Well,
wait. When you say,
can I
when
finish?
you say continue the way we've been doing it, I'm not sure what you mean.
The way we've done the meetings for the last several months.
Because the way we've been doing it is 20-something years as a separate meeting. When you said doing it the way we've been doing.
Yeah,
it
I'm saying
is
for the last
a
several
separate
months, that's the way
Big difference.
that's the way we've
Yeah,
been
yeah,
doing it.
yeah. Okay. What worries me, and I'll tell you my.
Can I
real worry.
finish what
I'm
can I finish what I'm saying?
I thought you were, I'm sorry.
So we were gonna talk when we go through that rather than voting on that calendar, I think we'll use that as a jumping off point. And because we understand that we will have to notice each of those separate ones, OPEB, the defined contribution, and also the school food services. So we'll have to set up special meetings. So that's what we plan on doing. So for next year, we'll get back on that schedule where we're setting up separate meetings and noticing separate meetings for each one of those. And so we can talk about the schedule, timing, how long each meeting we want to last and when we want them to start. We can go through that when we hit that point in the agenda tonight, if that's all right.
But it sounds like what you're saying then is that any action we take today would not be legal if we have to do it by a separate meeting.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the advice that we got from Corporation Counsel a while back was that we can continue to do things the way that we had been doing them. However, it would be better and cleaner to to conduct them as separate meetings with separate notice for each meeting going forward.
And as I said last time, a verbal statement doesn't take the place of a formal opinion by the corporate council. And we're talking about the legalities of actions that we're taking involving what could be a lot of money. What worries me is that for years and years, we've had a separate food services meeting with a separate notice, a separate agenda. Somebody pulls a scam and applies for a pension in, works with somebody on the board, falsifies some records, applies for a pension. There's nothing on our agenda that says we're gonna consider anything to do with food services. Some of the rest of the food services workers say, wait a minute, you can't grant this pension because you're giving away our money. You're trustees, you can't give away our money. And they say, but there's nothing on the agenda, there's no notice, that's how it's been done for 20 years, so we're not gonna come and object. So we approved the pension, and we've given away the money that actually belongs to those that workers who actually paid into the system.
Right.
That sounds like a lawsuit to me.
So
And
the,
as an attorney, I'd be happy to represent those other claimants saying that, hey, the board gave away our money.
which it would have done anyway. I think what you're talking about is a technical.
Not about legality,
Is
it's
a
legal.
technical issue.
No, legal is legal, legal is not technical, legal is legal.
But you have the same group,
If
you have the same group voting on the same agenda item. And they're coming out with the same. With the same vote, so
It
it's,
may
so there's
be,
not, so
but
there's
without the-
nothing about that's not.
Without the proper notice and without the proper agenda and without the proper awareness given to people who may have an objection to it, they can rely on what the board's been doing for 20 years, not show up and not object. I mean, to me, that sounds like a good legal argument that as an attorney, if I wasn't retired, I'd be happy to make. And I think the board would lose.
And that's fine, and I think going forward, that's why we're gonna do all these as
But then we should
separate
table
meetings.
this today,
Table what?
the food services pension application. Because
Okay,
if we
so-
grant it without the notice, without any mention of it in the agenda, without any information given to the public, with giving them an opportunity to come in and object, you know, the other food services
But it's on,
workers
it's on
may
the,
say this
it's
is
on the
invalid.
agenda,
I'm
Charlie.
sorry.
It's on the agenda, the backup's there, it's on the agenda, all those
Oh, no,
details
on the
are there.
agenda, it says committees, it doesn't say food services pension application.
But that item is there.
Yeah, the item is listed as a food service. So I guess in the lawsuit scenario you're laying out, what would be the plaintiff's damages?
The rest of the food services workers' damages would be any money that we awarded and paid to whoever applied for the pension.
If it was,
If it was illegitimate.
inappropriate.
That's right,
Okay.
that's right. I don't know if it is.
Yeah, right.
But if we did it legally, gave them an opportunity to object, we're shielded from liability. If they didn't come in and object, and they come in later and say, hey, wait a minute, and we'll say, well, you've had an opportunity, we'll correct the mistake, but it's not a legal liability.
So in this case, we're more or less relying on HR to, validate, confirm that this is not a fraudulent application,
Well, we're relying on that, yeah.
right?
But one other way is to allow people an opportunity to come in and object. And if it was on the agenda for food services,
Mhm.
public comment.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, an agenda is a legal document.
Yep.
And a notice is a legal document. And the backup papers, not necessarily legal documents. The backup papers aren't the kind of notice that an agenda is or a meeting notice is. Yeah, and that's why I said we needed a formal opinion from the corporate council.
So at this point, we have an informal opinion, a verbal informal
Yeah.
opinion,
Yeah,
and we're relying
I'm
on,
just not comfortable with
yeah,
that.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So there's the risk of going ahead with approving this is that there is something fraudulent in here that HR did not detect.
Yeah.
And someone does something they've never done over the last 20 years, which is complain about it.
I mean.
Sounds like a
you know,
reasonable risk, but
Obviously, the risk is
Yeah.
pretty small.
Yeah.
But, legal is still legal.
I hear you.
We wanna do it right.
How many
It's
food
up to you.
service employees have we granted a pension to
Not very
under this
many.
current format?
Depends which the we is. Okay, I've done probably 50 over
No,
the years.
I mean,
Under the
since,
current format,
under the current format.
I think we tabled the only one that I'm aware of.
Yeah, we tabled one a couple months ago, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
1 or 2 months ago. I think it's back.
For some other purpose, right? It was for
September.
another,
No, for the
some
same,
other
we had the same discussion then and said maybe we better find out. And I believe, I think you said you were gonna get a formal opinion from.
yeah, and then I
Yeah.
talked to Frank and I said we can continue going along as we are for the next couple of months, and then
Yeah, I know.
when the new
And as I said,
year
I'm-
starts, we would,
I question
up
the
separate
legality
meetings.
of that. And that's why I wanted a formal opinion. I thought we were settled. We're gonna get a formal opinion. But then I was on the board after that, so.
So I think what Jared's saying is, what we're doing is not illegal. It would be a little cleaner if we did what you're suggesting. Does that sound reasonable, right?
No,
No.
what we're doing is not legal if we're required. I'm serious. I'm not
Yeah,
joking.
okay,
What we're doing, if the food services pension is a separate fund, then we don't have to have the meeting in conjunction with this meeting. We
So,
could have the meeting tomorrow, which requires a separate notice, a
Mhm.
separate agenda, publication, so that anybody who has an interest in it can come to the meeting and raise an objection.
so is a solution for the December meeting to issue an agenda for the food, separate notice for the food service, do
Mhm.
these two pensions and start the year clean. Cause what I'm concerned about is these two people aren't getting their pension.
Right.
And so is that that an approach that you would find reasonable,
Legal.
legal?
No.
No?
No,
What if we, no, what if we?
I mean,
What if we, well, no, maybe I don't understand that, so what we would do for the December meeting. When we sent out all the notifications an agenda for the
okay,
for,
Oakland, are you
for the
saying
no-
do this before the December meeting?
Yeah.
Separate agenda, separate
Yeah,
notice?
yeah,
Yes,
yes,
that would be
okay.
legal.
All
Yeah,
right, all
that
right.
would be fine.
we would
Yeah.
have to, so
And
we'd
then
have
table
to
it-
schedule a
table it
special,
for
a special
today.
meeting, which would schedule a special meeting for whatever
which would be
you want to
first-
do.
5 minutes before we start
Well,
our
that's what
normal
we've done
meeting.
for,
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
said, 20-something
Yeah.
years. We scheduled the meeting at 5:45 and,
Yeah.
usually 3 or 4 members of the
Yeah.
whole board were members of the food services board.
Yeah.
I was for a while, I wasn't for a while, somebody else was for
Yeah.
a while.
Sharon,
Yeah,
You-
no, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. That
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
what you
yeah,
said
yeah,
is fine.
Sharon, do you see any problem with tabling what we now have 2 food service pension applications that we've kicked down the road here a little bit because of this agenda issue? Any concern with pushing those until December? I think you're on
You're
mute.
muted, Sharon.
You're on mute, sorry.
Okay, it's only been 5 years. So I don't necessarily see a current concern for just waiting till December, but if they keep getting tabled, these are people not getting their pensions.
Yeah, I understand.
And I think that they have a financial impact, which, which is equally
Okay,
important to whether or not we're giving out money from the fund.
all right.
That's why I
So,
wanted to.
Well, that sounds like the solution. We'll table this pension application. In December, we'll bring forward this one and the other one we tabled a couple months ago. And we'll do it in the context of a separate food service agenda and meeting time and all that.
So moved.
Fair enough. Any a second for that?
Not me. no.
All in favor?
Not-
Aye, okay.
Not such.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's move on. So,
Frank missed that.
are we're gonna go out of order here a little bit and cover the performance review before, so wait for Frank to get.
Does anybody need a hard copy?
I got one.
Yeah, I'll take it. Okay. Sorry, the battery for
You
the.
got one up there?
for the-
Okay. We'll get
Oh,
through
did,
this.
did you solicit any, were there any public comments?
I did not. Are there any public comments before we continue with the meeting? No, thank you. Okay. Yeah, Frank usually asks. No, we never have, but, okay.
All right, we've got the September 30th report in front of us here, so just quickly taking a look at page 1. You can see that the pension grew by just over 8.5 million net of distributions for the month of September, so really positive, strong month there. Turning to page 2, we'll start to look at the performance. Just recall that the fiscal year to date, which is that first column, it's also representing the prior quarter. So we saw the total fund return just shy of 5% at 4.9 to be specific. Equities were the largest contributor, both US and EM adding over 8 and 9% respectively. Within the US equity, we had principal add roughly 50 basis points of alpha beyond their benchmark, which is the Russell 2500 growth. So that was a nice month or quarter for them, I should say. On the flip side, LSV, they lagged the Russell 2000 value by almost 500 basis points. LSV and kind of reading through some of their commentary and attribution for the quarter. And this is a little bit about the conversation we were having previously before the meeting started. Right now, they highlighted the fact that the discount, which they consider that in terms of like the forward PE, is at 49% in terms of their portfolio trading relative to its benchmark.
Mhm.
So it's really reflective of the fact that there's been this rally and what we like to call junk names, and what they believe is, or continue to believe, is a really compelling relative value in the names they own on a go-forward basis. So the more rally we've seen in the junk, the more they believe that their portfolio holds a lot of upside potential. And it's one way to look at it. And I think we have heard similar messages from other managers in this space. So again, Britt kind of noted this earlier in terms of small cap value has just been really kind of topsy-turvy in terms of what we'd expect versus what we've seen in the
maybe
last.
just to add a data
Yeah.
point, because I was reviewing this exact topic with another client. In the Russell 2500 growth specifically, non-earners, so companies that are not profitable, have been up 70% since April. Whereas profitable companies are up 25%, which is pretty remarkable. And the momentum in these markets is not necessarily rewarding stock picking.
Yeah, those would be names we would never expect or want any of our managers to hold, obviously, those non-earning companies. So, they're sticking to what we hired them to do in terms of the process and the philosophy. Problem is, it's working against them. On the international side of things, the returns there were much more muted, and frankly, a lot of the managers struggled. Silchester, we saw them lag the EFI value index by about 250 basis points. Also had Walter Scott underperform EFI growth index by almost 275 basis points. Walter Scott, they pointed to what they said was the absence from banks and defense companies. They revisited the research on both, and they continue to believe that a lot of the share price gain in the banks in particular don't reflect any sort of valuation ratings or do reflect valuation ratings as opposed to earnings growth. And then the defense companies, and again, we kind of were discussing this earlier, is that they're getting a little bit of a bump from these increased military budgets as of late from certain economies like Germany is the poster child there, but they are extremely dependent on like a lot of opaque and politically sensitive processes that may or may not continue going forward. So it's not necessarily an area that they're going to put a lot of weight into because of the unknowns surrounding that. It's not really based on the fundamentals of the business themselves. It's these outsized factors which may or may not influence the sector. The EM side, so BlackRock, EM Alpha Tilts that would return nearly 10% for the quarter, did lag the index by about 100 basis points. We've seen a really strong rally in EM as of late, and it kind of continues to be supported by a mixture of in weaker US dollar, improved sentiment around Fed policy, as well as easing trade tensions between most notably China and the US. So that's been an area of growth within the portfolio and the general marketplace. And then the last kind of area that Britt and I maybe wanted to just spend a few minutes on was with respect to something that he sent an email around on regarding the First Brands within UBS, right, Britt? And so I think everybody read the email that he sent last month. Just as a really quick recap, First Brands is an auto parts supplier, and they filed for bankruptcy about a month and a half ago. And there were a lot of investigations which revealed that there was roughly 2.3 billion in funds that were missing from company accounts. So a lot of, at a minimum, financial misrepresentation. You might call that fraud. I think there's more to come there. And they were really relying on a lot of off-balance sheet factoring, asset-based financing arrangements. UBS, they had an investment in First Brands starting in 2019 through their asset manager O'Connor, UBS O'Connor, and some co-investment structures. And Britt, I don't know if you want to jump in, but I think what we're kind of finding is that some managers were doing their homework or their due diligence a little better or more frequently than others, because you did see a handful of managers stay away, if not short. There actually were a couple of managers out there who were shorting the name. So you start to wonder, what did they see versus some of the others that were still holding these positions, if not larger positions?
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing from UBS from a risk management perspective. If you recall, this is a large fund of funds with broad diversified exposure to many hedge funds. The co-investment sleeve has historically been very low and really not a huge part of the portfolio. So to see it at 4 or 5% was a bit surprising. And clearly they had investments like this across their various hedge fund portfolios at UBS. We do think it's a good idea to bring them in early 26 to have them discuss what went wrong and what has changed within their process to make sure this doesn't happen going forward. They did tell us that there won't be any new co-investments added to the portfolio going forward, and they're likely to be winding down the last one or two that remain in the portfolio.
Any idea what their return would have been without that?
No, I mean, they estimate that September, it was basically brought the fund down 2.5%. So my guess is, it's been pretty positive, 1 to 2% a month, historically, or 50. So I think it, and you can see it in the fiscal year number, right? I mean, down 2%. If you look at the last statement from last month, I'm sure it would be different. I think longer term, they've done a nice job in the portfolio, but this is a bit concerning. To Kevin's point, we've talked to a lot of managers that underwrote First Brands and decided not to invest because of double pledge collateral and opaque financial balance sheets.
Yep, disappointing.
It was interesting. We heard of some.
Welcome.
I'm new on this committee.
Okay.
Frank, we were just finishing up the performance commentary. So we were just kind of recapping the First Brands bankruptcy and the exposure within UBS.
And we had one pension application from food service, which we tabled. until next month, at which point we will have a formal agenda for food services to cross the Ts and dot the Is legally, which was Charlie's concern, so, HR said shouldn't be an issue if we table it for 1 month,
Perfect.
so. All right, I will turn the meeting over to our chairman. So we've done the,
We did.
pension applications, we've done the,
Minutes.
Yeah, we gotta
Minutes.
flip the agenda.
That's public comment.
Yeah, we did.
none of that, no
public comment.
public comment. So I think we're ready for the manager reviews.
What about this schedule for 26?
We could do that now, yeah.
We started talking about this earlier, so for 26, we're gonna map out individual meetings for, whether it's for OPEB, the pension board, OPEB board, the schools, and also for the defined contribution plan. And so we'll map those out. There's dates on on your agenda for those meetings, which I think unless anybody has an issue with those dates, I think they can remain the same.
Second,
But what we'll,
second Wednesday.
Yeah, second Wednesdays.
what we'll do is,
My birthday's January 14th, so you can cheer.
we'll go through and we'll have to create, depending on how you wanna do it, the frequency that you wanna do all the other meetings in, if we're gonna do them each month. Are we gonna do all 4 each month?
No,
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 I don't believe we need to go do OPEB more than every other month, really, and I don't believe we need to do defined contribution more than every other month, because OPEB is pretty standard as far as we have not made many,
pretty on
Adjustments.
yeah.
and
Are there any applications that are coming in OPEB?
No,
No, because they're medical benefits. I don't think you approve.
All right, so
applications.
why don't
The thing
we,
is,
why don't we
they
do it
did
every,
ask for-
why don't we do it every quarter then? We don't
That's
need
what it was historically, every quarter.
Yeah, it should be
Yeah,
every
that's fine.
quarter.
Same thing with DC, because we only report quarterly there.
okay,
you guys are okay with that? Do that
once
every
a quarter,
quarter?
that's
For
fine.
those two,
and food
Okay.
service only if we have an application.
Food service,
as
yeah,
needed?
food services could, there's some years where we won't even have a meeting.
Okay,
It's only for, the only time we meet for food services for a pension. And I think the number of potential pensions is
3 years.
a very low.
okay, so we'll, as needed,
The only,
we'll-
oh, I'm sorry,
Yep.
the only thing about the OPEB, because there are times when like money is needed, like this meeting today, we need money, and that would be why possibly having it every other month.
And should we clarify who's on the food service board? That's been
Isn't that part of the contract?
3 of us.
Well, it was the new guy here, Charlie, just came on the board, and,
I've been on, yeah.
yeah, you've been on longer than Charlie. Where's Mark? Do you realize that as far as right now serving on this board, you have the most tenure here?
Yes, I do recognize that. Felt good looking in the mirror.
So, you know what, I'm there.
I'm right there.
And then the other thing is, it's it's supposed to be, or traditionally, and I don't know whether it's written anywhere, that the president of the Food Services Union is a member. That's a bit of the complication, whether we don't know whether when these changes were made, whether that was adjusted or not.
So we have 3 outside board members. Plus the union president.
Well, it was for a while, just the 2 of us and the president, then it was 3, so then
Okay.
it could be which is, it's a very simple pension.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing is, I mean, I would be fine with, since the gentleman hasn't shown up for 2 meetings, but we don't know whether he was notified. But B, I don't think that if we approve it, that he is gonna come and object.
I agree, yeah.
So I would say that for the person to collect a pension of, I think it's about $125 or something like that. I'm willing to take the chances. Right? Is
Well,
anybody,
Yeah, I'm relatively indifferent. HR said no harm, no foul if we wait a month.
right,
either.
that's kind of how I look at that
Yeah,
one. So, I
So
mean,
we'll-
even if you wanna, do you wanna, is rather than table, I'm late, so I apologize. I didn't realize this all of a sudden, I'm gonna punish myself, I won't have chips. But I think that,
Well, we kind of decided we were gonna send out a notice and an agenda and have it in front before the December meeting. If
What
we
about if
table
we-
it today,
we did a motion and
Yeah,
it's
table it,
voted
yeah,
on
yeah,
and
yeah.
we're all set.
Yeah,
if the city can notify the head of the union, that would solve that part of the problem.
and even if maybe the union, the head of the union says, okay, I will no need, he could step aside and no longer need to come.
Yeah.
Cause he would just come here for 2 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
okay, so for next year. When we have those other meetings, what do you want the schedule to look like on those meetings? Are you gonna have an OPEB meeting? To start out the session? Or would that come at the end, after you do pension?
We've always done it after, and what we've done to make sure that, there is a concern about time. Cause meetings starting late is not a problem. Meetings starting early, potentially, my understanding could be a
Yeah,
problem. So what we do is we say, okay, the meeting starts at 6 o'clock. And then, OPEB starts, say at 6:30 or 6:20 even. Well, it might not start till 6:45 or 7, depending on how long our meeting is. However, it's not against the rules to start a meeting late. So then we are abiding by my understanding what the rules are of having meetings.
Yeah, I mean, there is a point where it's too late, where you're starting.
Yeah,
too
right,
late.
but
I
we
don't
have-
know what that point
I mean,
is.
you've
I have
been
to-
here where, I mean, if you say 6:30, very rarely have we gone. Rarely have we ever finished a meeting before 30 minutes, and also meetings hardly run more than 90 minutes.
So let's say we set up pension and, it's pension every month. OPEB are we doing OPEB every quarter? Is that good?
I would think-
If we need to make a transfer, we can always set up and schedule a meeting to do
Yeah, I
that.
mean, one of the things, open meetings last 5 minutes. So it's not that it's a burden on the committee. So 2 months, every 2 months, just to,
That's fine.
OPEB quarterly at 6:30.
I mean, I'd probably rather do every other month, but
He's
No, no, yeah,
every
right.
2 months.
Oh, 2 months, okay. And
And-
DC,
And then
what-
DC every,
and then as far
Quarter.
as defined contribution plan. We've made very few adjustments.
Right.
In what is available for people to invest in. And we have never really been my understanding is we've never been contacted where somebody said, I want to be in gold.
Do we wanna do that every 4 months or every 6 months?
well, Kevin, when do you guys report DC? Is it
Quarterly.
end of quarter? So like April, would you report on March? And
No, it's usually
Longer.
6 weeks after quarter end. So it's always been an issue with the pension, with everything.
Be like
Why-
May.
So we'd report 12/31/25 in March, correct?
Correct.
Is our February meeting's too early?
Right, so we do,
But we don't want to.
March,
That's right. So it's a quarter lag.
No.
What
Otherwise-
defined contribution
Well,
and OPEB.
and we don't do July and
Well, then
August.
we'd have to do either
Right.
a cycle.
So, yeah, I got
cycle
quarterly.
3 months.
That actually works out well though, because then.
Yeah, quarterly, I would do March, June, September and December.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do 4 of them.
The only thing with that is then wouldn't we some days have
Yeah,
both?
you're gonna have
We
both.
would right,
That's not
Yeah.
hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So we'll do pension for the first half hour and then we'll do,
Yeah.
the other two 15 minutes after that.
Okay.
And then do the other one if they both fall on that date, if the DC and OPEB fall on the same date, then we can do it. Schedule it 5 minutes later, schedule the DC 5 minutes after.
Yeah, because again, I don't think. How much changes, are we really reviewing anything as far as what is on the, what's available for investments in the defined contribution?
Well, there's gonna be fiduciary projects that we have to conduct, whether it's reviewing fees. We have to monitor performance of all the options. And, if there is an underperforming fund, it would have to be changed, just like in the pension plan. So I don't see anything necessarily broken, but it's something we need to review on a regular basis. And I think quarterly makes a lot of sense. And making sure that we have those meetings scheduled, because it's been quite a while at this point since we've had a formal meeting in the DC side.
For the pension plan, we have a watch list. Should you have a watch list for defined contribution, funds?
Certainly. Yeah, and I think one of the things we need to do again with the DC is review the investment policy statement and make sure, if the watch list criteria is not in there, we can add it and make sure that everyone's on the same page on what that looks like and what it is going forward.
So based on what we just discussed, we should discuss the defined contribution September report in December, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll put together a calendar for, with those specifics in it for the December meeting. You can vote on that. Okay.
All right. Good.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
no problem.
So I think we're ready to go to the manager
Executive session.
reviews and we're gonna go to executive session for this.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to ask you to move. Cause everyone's got 3 people, so you'll have to go here.
Those 2 seats.
But there's a third one.
All right, I'll grab
All right, we're gonna go to executive session now.